On February 12, 2010, just hours before the world would gather to celebrate the opening ceremony of the Vancouver Winter Olympics, tragedy struck the heart of the Games. Nodar Kumaritashvili, a 21-year-old luger from Georgia, lost control during a training run on the Whistler Sliding Center's notoriously fast track. Thrown on padded steel beam, suffering fatal injuries. The shocking accident sent waves of grief and outrage across the globe, raising urgent questions about safety in Olympic sports. A disaster many saw coming, and one that in hindsight could have been prevented. But what exactly happened that day? And how did this tragedy change the course of Olympic history forever? Nodar Kumaritashvili was born on November 25, 1988 in Borjomi, Georgia, a region famed for its natural beauty and mineral springs. He grew up in Bakuriani, a small mountain town that had become a winter sports hub in the country. For Nodar, luge was more than just a sport, it was a family tradition. His grandfather Aliko had played a pivotal role in introducing luge to Georgia, building the country's first luge track in the 1970s. His father David was a champion in both luge and bobsleigh, and his uncle would go on to lead the Georgian Luge Federation. From a young age, Nodar was immersed in the world of winter sports. The ice tracks of Bakuriani became his playground, and the stories of his family's achievements inspired him to dream big. Despite the limited resources and outdated facilities available in Georgia, he was determined to follow in his family's footsteps. He began training seriously as a teenager and braving harsh conditions that would have discouraged many. But Nodar's perseverance paid off. He honed his technique, competed in various European luge events, and steadily improved his rankings. By 2009, he had earned a degree in economics from Georgian Technical University, balancing his studies with his athletic ambitions. Qualifying for the 2010 Winter Olympics in Vancouver was the culmination of years of hard work, a dream come true for Nodar, his family and his country. For Georgia, a small nation with few athletes on the world stage, his Olympic birth was a moment of immense pride. For those unfamiliar, luge is one of the fastest and most dangerous Olympic sports. Athletes race down an icy track on a small sled, lying feet first and face up, steering with subtle movements of their legs and shoulders. Speeds often exceed 80 miles per hour, and the margin for error is razor thin. A single miscalculation can lead to disaster. When athletes arrived in Vancouver, they were greeted by the Whistler Sliding Center, a marvel of engineering, but also a source of growing concern. Designed to be the fastest luge track ever built, Whistler pushed the boundaries of speed and technical difficulty. During test runs, some athletes reached speeds of nearly 93 miles per hour, far surpassing what most had ever experienced. Several competitors, coaches, and experts voiced concerns about the track's safety. Some called it unnecessarily dangerous, arguing that even the most experienced lugers were struggling to maintain control. Turn 13 in particular became infamous among athletes, who nicknamed it the 50-50 turn, reflecting their perceived chances of navigating it without crashing. The track's steep slopes, sharp curves, and high speeds created a perfect storm of risk. Despite the warnings, the track remained unchanged in the days leading up to the competition. Athletes including Nodar had little choice but to adapt and hope for the best. Nodar arrived in Vancouver filled with hope and determination, but also a sense of caution. He was among many who found the Whistler course particularly challenging, crashing multiple times during practice runs. Still, he pressed on, determined to represent his country with pride and to honor his family's legacy. On February 12, 2010, just hours before the Olympic opening ceremony, Nodar prepared for what was supposed to be a routine final training run. The lead slammed against the wall, flipping him onto his side. The force of the impact sent him crashing out of the track's boundaries. Unlike most luge tracks, which are fully enclosed for safety, Whistler's design left gaps in the upper walls, a critical flaw. Nodar was violently thrown from his sled, spinning through the air at full speed, before collided with an unpadded steel support team. The sound of the crash echoed through the sliding center. His sled continued to slide down the track without him. Track officials and paramedics rushed to his side within seconds. The scene was chaotic as medics performed CPR on the ice, desperately trying to save him, but the force of the impact had caused severe head and spinal injuries, leaving no chance of survival. At 1:59 p.m., Nodar was pronounced dead. He was only 21 years old. The accident Olympic community was stunned. Flags were lowered to half-mast, and a moment of silence was held during the opening ceremony. The Georgian team, devastated by the loss, considered withdrawing from the games but ultimately chose to compete in Nodar's honor. In the aftermath, an investigation was launched to determine what had gone wrong. The official report concluded that the accident was caused by an error of Nodar's part, stating that he had lost control of his sled and reacted too late to correct his position. This explanation was met with widespread criticism. Many experts and fellow athletes argued that the track itself was unsafe. Several lugers had already suffered crashes in training, and numerous competitors had warned officials about extreme speeds. Faced with mounting pressure, Olympic officials took immediate action. Hours after the crash, they made last-minute modifications to the track. The walls of Curve 16 were raised to prevent another ejection, and the starting position for the men's luge was lowered, reducing overall speeds. Despite these changes, many felt it was too little, too late. The autopsy report later confirmed people's concerns about the track. Nodar died from multiple blunt force injuries, the result of a combination of factors, including the track's high speed and technical complexity. No individuals or organizations were criminally charged or held legally responsible for the tragic death. Investigations, including a report by the British Columbia Coroner's Service, concluded that his death was accidental. The coroner's report also suggested that Nodar's lack of experience may have contributed to the accident, a claim his father vehemently rejected, insisting that Nodar had earned his place at the Olympics through skill and dedication. In 2013, engineering professor Mort Hubbard suggested that a small joint in the curve's design may have launched Nodar off his sled, but this theory was dismissed due to lack of data. Still, the tragedy forced the luge community and Olympic organizers to confront serious safety concerns. Nodar's funeral took place in his hometown on February 20, 2010. Thousands of mourners gathered, including family, friends, and government officials. A small choir sang Georgian chants, and his portrait was displayed during the service. He was buried near a local church he had attended growing up, a final resting place for a young man who had given everything for his sport and his country.